And the captain, David Wright, alongside as well. Good to see you, David.
Good to be seen. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for spending a few minutes with us. And I'm sure you have not heard this question ever, but how's the back?
Yes, it's the first one all spring. No, it's feeling good. I think that we've come up with a game plan. This offseason, spent some time out in L.A. with Dr. Watkins and his therapist, and we feel like we have a handle on it where it can be manageable. There's going to be some good days, going to be some bad days. The majority of them are in between, but for the most part, with the routine that I've been through, the stretching, the exercises, it's been good so far this spring.
I was going to say, is the day-to-day preparation tougher and more taxing now than, say, 2 years ago or 3 years ago?
Oh, no question. And I think that's the first thing that I think about when I get out of bed in the morning is, how's this thing going to feel today? And I think, I have to be honest with myself. I have to be honest with Terry. And that's one thing that we've really done a nice job since I've come back is that open line of communication where, sometimes Terry takes that out of my hands. Hey, you're getting today off, so rest your back, do your exercises, but, you're off today. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. So that open line of communication is pretty important.
This year's team, of course, is this the best team that you've been around chemistry-wise or the most complete team that you've been around since your days here with the Mets?
Well, Figgy, as you know, chemistry, if you win, you got good chemistry. If you lose, all of a sudden the chemistry's bad. But these guys, we got a great group. And, we have a good mix of veteran guys, young guys. We have that energy. We have that experience. It's a great question because I really enjoy coming in that clubhouse every day and dealing with those 24 other guys. And it's when you have that type of relationship, it seems like, you play less selfishly, if that makes sense. You're invested in the guy to your left, the guy to your right. If you got to get a runner over, it makes it easier knowing that, you are invested in the guy hitting behind you. And I think that's what we have here.
One of the other things was, do you think it's going to be harder or easier to keep this team focused this year? I know with all the stuff that's happened before the games have started, now that the games are kicking in, is going to be any harder to keep this team focused?
I think Terry's so good at having his finger on the pulse here where, it was fun to goof around a little bit. We have the Cespedes car show and, riding in on horses. And, the reporters were asking me about it. And, I gave them one of my favorite lines ever, and that's the Allen Iverson. We're talking about practice.
I love it.
Not a game. Not practice. A game. Practice. So, it's good now to kind of get focused. We got some games starting. As you know, spring training gets a little monotonous. So to break it up a little bit, have some fun, I think was good for us.
That was interesting watching you on the main field behind us today, working with Wilmer Flores. And with you getting more days off this year, Wilmer's going to see some time at third base. What's it like for you sort of mentoring some of these guys who might be at that position this year?
Well, that just goes to show you. Wilmer was our shortstop last year. He played a little bit second base. And, he does whatever this team asks him to do. We go out there and we sign an Asdrubal Cabrera. We trade for Neil Walker. Well, Flo's attitude, it could have been to mope around, but instead, he wants to learn every position. He's got a first baseman's mitt. He can still play second, play short, play third. I'm glad that, he's been as open to asking questions and trying to, take little tips here and there because, like I said, when we have the depth and the versatility that we have in the infield, it's going to be good for all of us.
You were a pretty big proponent of trying to get Cespedes back here. A lot of people didn't think that was going to happen. How excited were you when you found out he was coming back?
Yeah, pumped. I mean, it was weird because you just had this feeling that, he wanted to come back. We wanted him back. It was just a matter of working out something that worked for both sides. And those are the types of guys that you want around. You want Bartolo Colon taking, less to come back here. You want Zach Wheeler calling Sandy and saying, hey, don't trade me. I want to be a part of this. You want Wilmer Flores and the emotion that comes along with that on the field, wanting to be a part of, hopefully something special. And the same goes for Yo. I mean, it seemed like he enjoyed it so much. The fans embraced him. And he just had such a great time that it made too much sense, to come up with something. I'm glad they all got it worked out.
What do you think this year, with all the expectations? We always talk about it, and going from being the hunting, the first place team to being the hunted. What do you think that's going to be like?
Yeah, we're going to have a target on our back. There's no question. We're not going to sneak up on anybody. The fans, the players are going to get excited when we come into town. The fans are going to root extra hard against us. The players are going to try, even more hard to knock off the National League champs. So, I think that's one thing that we had going for us last year was kind of that element of surprise. The Jacob deGrom, wasn't necessarily established quite yet. Noah Syndergaard certainly wasn't established. Well, these guys are household everyday names now, so we're not going to be sneaking up on anybody.
Well, first of all, how good does it feel to say National League champs?
It does.
It rolls off the tongue real
It
nice.
does.
Huh? And secondly, is there any young guy that you've taken under your wing? Kind of being the veteran guy and the captain. Has there been any one young guy that you've taken under your wing?
It does feel good. National League champs. That does.
Got a nice ring to it.
It does. It does.
Without question.
I just think that you look around this room and you look at, I guess, Michael Conforto pops out, where Michael Kadire did such a great job in kind of tutoring him last year, where, I think for Conforto this year, he wants to take that next step. He wants to hit righties, of course. He wants to hit lefties. He wants to kind of be that long-term solution, in left field or right field, wherever, it's going to be. So I think his name comes to mind. Travis d'Arnaud, I think, is due for a huge year. The only thing, for him is he's always put up the numbers. It's just, having some freak accident injuries. So if we can stay from that. It's just, you look at this team and you just love it, and it's a great team on paper, but as everybody knows, that means nothing. Last year at this time, what a difference a year makes. The outside expectations were so low, and we go out there and have the year that we had. Now the expectations from the outside, at least, are higher. They match the expectations that we have on the inside, so now it's up to us to go out there and prove that last year was no fluke.
I love the excitement that you're talking about this team. You've gone through some tough times here, so it is great to see, Dave. And
thank you.